Welcome to this video. This is a new part of the tactics and calculation series, and I'm doing the tactics trainer again here on chess.com. I'm very thankful for the many comments that I got for the first video of that type, because it helped me to adjust some settings here. One is that the board now is considerably larger. I think this helps a bit with viewing. I also turned down the function that involves the timer, and I also don't I do unrated puzzles now, so I can actually have time to look at the positions and tell something about them. I'm not pressed to play this each move immediately to gain rating points. I adjusted the problems to be in a range between 1500 and 1700 on the tactics trainer, and I will, in further videos, in future videos, I will adjust this to get something trickier and so on. So this will be 1500 to 1700 rated. Okay, let's start with the first position. We're playing white here. First thing that comes to mind is that we have very active pieces. The queen is very much near the king on a6. And king is on a8. I cannot draw any arrows here, but we are near the king. We have a bishop on the long diagonal, which is a big feature. Yeah, bishop takes c6, however, he covers c6 twice, so that's not possible. We have rook coming over, rook b3, rook a3. These kind of moves might be in the mix. All our pieces are active. Yeah, rook b3, he's got rook b8, and it's not a mate on b7. Otherwise, this would be good. The next thing that we should consider is, what about bishop b6? Yeah, this threatens mate on a7, and I really don't see how he covers it. What he has is intermediate checks on f4, but it's really just a check. We can just go king b1. So bishop b6 threatens queen a7 mate, and there is no defense to that. That was pretty easy. Okay, the next one. Okay, we got black here. We got tons of pieces near the king. That looks nice. The knight on h4, the knight on d5, queen g4, all very active. So this really looks like we should have something here. The knight on h3 and the rook on f5, they both attacking f2. So I wonder what about rook takes. What about rook takes f2? Isn't this just possible? Just take this on f2. After the capture, he's going king h1, and then just queen takes g3, threatening rook takes h2 mate and queen g1 mate. It's a double threat. He does not have any check or intermediate move to deter me from doing that. So this is probably sufficient. And queen takes. After that, we threaten the mate on g1 and the mate on h2, and both defending both is tricky, and he has no check or whatever, so we just take this. This problem was rated 1505. Let's do the next one. Oh, this is actually an endgame. Interesting. So here we have a basic endgame. We are playing black here. It's important. The board is switched, so our pawn moves ahead here. So what can we do? We have two basic possibilities. We can exchange the rook, or we can't. And if we consider getting the rooks or keeping the rooks on the board, like rook h1 check, he just plays king b2. And we don't make any progress. We need to check the exchange first. And okay, there is a video coming up on, or maybe already released, I'm not quite sure, on basic king and pawn endgames. And if you've seen that, you will know that this is a winning endgame due to the fact that black gets in front of the 6th rank, in front of the pawn on the 6th rank, and therefore we win the game. We now will promote the pawn. Yeah, this is a very basic king and pawn endgame. The big point is really, and I can use this analysis board now. Here I can put this analysis on. The big point is that we get to one of those squares, c3, b3, a3, in front of the pawn, which will help black to promote the pawn. After king b3, we got the opposition. And we will gain even more space to get the pawn promoted. Very basic king and pawn endgame. Okay, the next one. Okay, here we are playing white. And yeah, the king here is really in bad shape. It has absolutely no square to go to. So any check is a mate, yeah. Queen f3, for instance, would be checkmate. How do we manage to mate him? Yeah, I don't see how I get to f3 with the queen. I mean, queen f1 he will take, and I mate it. I have a hard time. If I go with the queen somewhere else, there's always queen f1. So it's a bit tricky. I definitely don't want to trade queens. So what I need to do is I need to look at checks, the forcing moves. If I go somewhere with the queen, he's got queen f1. So the thing is, I can play g4, check, knight takes, check by the queen. Yeah, and if he takes the queen, there's knight f6, checkmate. This is the alternate possibility. Here, white is checkmating with queen e8. Note that he only has one defense, queen to g6. And now knight f6 is the checkmate. That's very cute. Yeah, we can look at it briefly with the analysis board. Unfortunately, it's a separate board. This is the big thing. After this, there is the check on the 5th rank, and if black takes, that's knight f6 mate. This is the real point of it. Yeah, the rationale here really in the starting position is that white really must do something dramatic now. He must give a check, otherwise he's toast. If white is playing any move, let's say here, then queen f1 is coming and white is mate. So I need to only look at checks in the initial position and those forceful moves. Okay, the next one. Okay, we're playing white here, and we see that we have a huge attack here. Knight, bishop, rooks, they're all in the attack. But how do we actually win the thing? Yeah, we see that we really want to go with the rook on g1. Pinning. Rook g1 would be a pin on the bishop. But he's got rook f7, and it's not clear how I'm going to make any progress. Rook g1, rook f7. I don't have rook h to g4, as the bishop is covering g4. So we need to check the forcing moves. Checks, captures, pins, things that threaten something. And here the capture on g7 is the right solution, because it wins a tempo basically. Black must recapture, and now we can give the check here. And this is deadly now. King f7. Why don't they do it on the same board? So if we look at this, king f7 is rook h7 mate, and black can only play stuff like that to only get to a position where he's a piece down and completely lost. So it's a typical case where we need to start with forcing moves in the starting position, which is basically here. We don't need to look at anything slow. We need to look at pins, captures, checks. And here the capture turns out to be the right move order. Rook g1, rook f7 is not enough. Okay, let's see the next one. This does not look... it's just an opening position, right? Yeah, and what are we doing here? He just grabbed on e4. That's very greedy. And yeah, we need to check first captures. And we already should look for something substantial, as we are much better developed. He has played a move like a5, which did not develop anything. Yeah, the first move to check really is to take on e4. The capture, the most forcing move here. If we look at this, and we only have two lines, black can take, and now we have an important thing, an intermediate move. Knight takes f6, check. G takes f and rook d1, and here we have won a piece. The more interesting line, in a way, was, however, at the beginning, after the capture. If black recaptures, there's a very important motif that comes up time and time again with the uncastled king. Queen a4 check, double attacking the king with a check and the knight on e4. The overall grabbing those pawns, opening up the center, is super dangerous anyway. In this case, it's really suicidal, losing a piece right away. Very typical is this queen a4 move to pick up a piece that has captured here on e4. Okay, let's go to the next one. And the computer is calculating a move for black. Yeah, here we see white having a big attack, but how do we win? We really want to give checkmate on h7. The bishop is on h7, only queen takes h7 would mate him. So we need to find a queen move to threaten the checkmate. Black does not have any big counterplay. This should always be checked. Is there some counterplay? Checks, does he threaten to capture something with check even? But there's nothing. Queen e4, all those moves don't make any sense. So we basically can look now without being too worried about a counterattack. Yeah, how can we threaten mate on h7? There's queen h4, queen h5, queen h6. Yeah, putting the queen on the h file. And yeah, the move queen h6 is the most attractive because it's a double attack. We threaten the mate on h7 and we threaten the rook. Yeah, the compy has this desperado move. Well, I take the queen, thank you. And now that's it. Yeah, the big thing about queen h6 is that h7 is threatened, but the rook is also hanging. So he cannot, if we look at the analysis board briefly, after king h8, queen h6, he cannot play f5 to break this diagonal because this is a mate. Yeah, it's a typical case where you have a couple of moves to select from, and the one that does the most, threatens the most, doing a double attack is the best one, queen h6. Okay, next one. Let's see. Okay, it is computing computing a move, and now it's black's turn. Yeah, a funny position here. We see that black is a queen down for rook, so we need to do something now. We cannot just shuffle around. And we see that white's king is in trouble. Yeah, we have active rooks and the queen is offside on a6. Yeah, how do we do that? Now we need to look at checks. Checks are mandatory here basically. Or what else is possible sometimes is if we look at this, the king has very little squares. There are mostly two things being interesting here. Moves that, well, check him, yeah, trying to get a series of check-in to checkmate white, or play some move that takes away the final square so that we can mate him next move. However, white here is threatening queen takes d3, so we cannot move something like king g6 or something. What we need to check first is checks, and this is mostly rook 6 to d4 check, because rook 4 to d4 lets the king get away to e3. So this check on d4 is the first move that we need to look at. And it's also the right one. Yeah, here we see that we really have him close to a mate. Yeah, it's very, very close to a mate. We only need to get some checks in to finish him off. But how do we do that actually? If we now consider the checks again, we have rook f4, rook f3, or rook d5. Rook d5, he just goes back, which does not really help us that much. If we give on d5 check, he goes back. Rook f4, he goes to e5. Rook e3, he goes to d5. And he might escape via c6. So we should check the moves that keep him in the cage. Rook f3 check, king e5. The only response. And again, with a check, we can force a single response. After rook e3 check, he only has king f5. And then after king f5, which is not yet in there, king f5, there's rook f4 mate. So to show the final moves, king f5, rook f4 mate. Yeah, it's a case where we need to check all checks first and make sure that we that we prevent the white king from escaping. It's basically check, 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 checkmate. Okay, the next one. I see that most problems are really more like 1500s and 1700s, so maybe I tune this up a notch to get a little bit of variety in there. Okay, white to move. We are attacking with the queen here. Black's king is open, but we need to be quick here. We cannot really waste any time. Black's b pawn is very threatening. So first things to look at is checks. The queen, however, cannot checkmate alone, and the only piece that can help the queen now is the rook. So it's probably something that gets the rook to g1 near the king. And the key is that we first make sure that we have the best possible situation for that. Queen f6 check. Checking the checks first. King g8 is the next move, and unfortunately it ends here. It really shouldn't have ended, because here there's king h2 still to be played, and now rook g1 check is deadly. Black has absolutely no way to prevent that. White wins. It's a bit weird that is it really not part of the puzzle? Why not? Why isn't this part of the puzzle? Yeah, the king h2 move, but okay, it's clearly the way to finish things off. Okay, let's look at the next one. And playing black, white is playing c7. Okay, now it's again something where we need to be quick. The c pawn is about to promote, and we definitely want to find a checkmate here. How do we do it? Yeah, the knight and the queen must be the pieces involved. The bishop on g7 is just looking at its own pawns. It's just there to protect the king. It must be knight and queen who are delivering the mate. Yeah, what moves actually come into consideration? I actually think that maybe two moves come into consideration. First of all, the check on f4, because it's the most forcing continuation. Yeah, checks are always most forcing. The second move that might come into consideration is something like pinning the bishop on the second rank, like queen e2 or queen c2, and then get the knight in. But white will promote, so it must be something that really mates white. I think we need to look at the knight check first. If we give this check, he can go to h2 to g3, so going up or to the side. After both moves, we have queen f1, threatening queen g2 mate, and there's no defense to that. So we need to check king g1 and king h1. King h1 we take on f3 with check and then mate on g2. Yeah, and knight f4 check king g1, we can take on f3 and we threaten the mate on g2 again, and there is really no defense. He can go king f1, but then we have queen h1 with a mate. So it's all about the most forcing move. Queen f3, threatening on g2, and unfortunately it ends here, but it shouldn't. It should be a little bit longer actually. While it's understandable that we have a great position, we still should continue for a moment. Yeah, king f1. How do we win after this? Well, let me look. I see a mate in 3 moves. Is there a mate in 2 moves? I don't see it at the moment. So let's play the mate in 2. Check, limiting him to bishop g1. The only move. Queen g2, again limiting him to this one, and this is a mate. Maybe there was a mate in 2, but I didn't see it. It's all about the most forcing moves, especially if we see that white is coming with big counter threats like c8 and so on. Okay, the next problem. Okay, first computes a move for black. Yeah, what about this? It's about equal from a material point of view. I've got rook against 2 pieces, but the main point is black's king is totally open. And again, it's a case where we need to look at checks and most forcing moves. We definitely don't want to trade queens. And what checks do we need to look at? Queen h8 check. He will play king e7. He can go to h4 with a check again, and then he might just go to d7 and is escaping. The other check we need to look at is queen h6 check, which quite similarly forces him to go to e7. But now we have a key move. We don't need to check him all the time. It's not a mate here that we're after, but we have rook g7 pinning the queen, and we just win the queen. That's really enough. A queen is enough. Okay, let's do the next one. Okay, computer computes a black move first. Yeah, and here we have a very nice mate coming. It also has a name. It's called Anastasia's mate. Not quite sure how this name is, where this name is originating, but it's a very nice checkmate, and it's one of those cases. Once you have seen it, it comes to you rather naturally in a position. This is why I saw it immediately, and it's best to just show it. White has this check. King only has this move, and the defining thing of this mate is this knight here, the knight on e7, or if you want to have it have mirror images on e2, if it is white who's getting mated. But this knight, it takes away the g8 square, the square that's highlighted here in yellow, and this is the main point. The g8 square is covered and the g6 square is covered. This is important because white wins with the rook sacrifice. And here we come. The rook is coming. Black can only interpose a couple of pieces here. And then we got this very cute mate. It's one of those mates that stay with you. If you have seen it once, then this motif will be seen much quicker than when you have never seen it before. So a very nice motif. The defining thing being this knight on e7, which takes away g8 and g6 in this case. Anastasia's mate. Okay. Yeah, again, we have a very dramatic position in front of us. Black has just taken on f3 and threatens to mate on h2. Our rook is also attacked. But on the other hand, we also have some substantial threats in the position. What we have here is mostly the g file and the long diagonal. So it's all focused on the g7 square. And in situations like that, where all pieces are pointing to one square or one piece or pawn, we should check if we can do something on exactly this square. Here it all is pointing at g7. And the move that comes to mind here is rook takes g7 with a check. Let's put it on the board. That's the right one. And yeah, this is in fact the toughest defense. If black would have taken, we would have taken on f6 with check and queen g7 mate next. All pieces point to g7, so that's where the critical blow is delivered. Yeah, but black simply refuses to take. If we now take on f6, he can mate us with queen takes h2. Well, bummer, don't want that. So what is what we need to do here? The big point is we can just prevent the mate and set up a very strong threat. We can just play this move, which covers h2. And it is very nice now. Black has no move. We're threatening queen takes f6 with mate soon to come. He has no check or anything available himself. And knight e5, I should maybe use this. Knight e5 is failing due to the queen hanging. Otherwise, black would have some sort of defense with the long diagonal blocked, but here he's just losing the queen. Okay, the next one. and it computes a move for black. Okay, what about this position? Yeah, we see that that's a rook endgame, but it's not really about knowing some elementary endgame here. The big point is the king on e4. Black has this advanced king, which is certainly in general an asset. Yeah, you want active pieces in the rook endgame. But here there's also a problem. Black does not have any square for his king besides the e3 square and, well, threatening to take the pawn. So it means that if we can prevent him from taking and get a check in, we will win. And this is such a case where with a simple move like this, we threaten rook d4 mate, and there is no way to get out of this. Yeah, this is a way to get out of the mate, but thank you very much, I take the rook. Very, very nice. Just the rook d4 mate motif is important. Even in simplified positions, it's very important to look for mating ideas. It's very, very surprising sometimes how often mates occur in very simplified positions in endgames. Okay, the next one. Okay, computer is computing a move. Okay, what about this position? Interesting. Yeah, we have an active queen, and what also comes to mind is we have two active bishops. That's quite nice. And the weak back rank is also an issue. White does not have any luft for his king, h3, for example. So how do we finish him off here? Interesting. I don't see it right away. Yeah, the whole position looks very shaky for white. But how do we actually win? Yeah, it must be related to all those pieces being pinned. But how exactly do we finish him off? It must be something with the diagonals here. So the bishop is involved. So what we have here is a very weird form of a cross pin. What black can do here is to play bishop a6. It took me a while to see that. Maybe not in good shape, but somehow I was always thinking about the back rank. Yeah, bishop a6. Now after the capture we can take on b1 and win. The point is we need to look at this again. This was played, and now bishop a6. The point is that black is threatening a number of things now. He's threatening to take on d3, of course, take on b1. If white goes here, the big point is that now we can capture and play this, and with this we will win the game. We attack the rook and give the check. He cannot interpose. The only move that he has is knight e1, and then we take on d3 because queen takes e1. We win the game. So this was a bit trickier. At least I didn't see it right away. What's very important, if we go to the, let's do that on the bigger board. What's very important to recognize here that there are some very latent liabilities in white's position. The bishop is protecting the rook, the queen, the bishop. Black is very active, and there is something. There's something there, and you need to really stay focused here and try to find it. It took me a while, really, but it must be something related to these pieces, all depending on each other. Yeah, okay, let's do one more. And see, oh, we had this earlier, so this is not good. Let's do the next one. I cannot just press next one, so I put this on the board again. Let's do one position again that I didn't have before. Okay, here it's black to move, and Here we see a very common tactical motif. White's move knight c3 wasn't really good, because now black can force checkmate. And it's a very typical thing that can happen if you have this pressure against f2 by bishop and queen. The big move here is queen takes f2. Can play that with a loud bam. And yeah, white takes, and now rook e1 mate. That's the point. We need a rook coming all the way down to the back rank to deliver the checkmate. It's clear that where is this? Yes, that white cannot. Yeah, he went here, which was really really gifting away a point. That this cannot be answered with king h1, as we just take the rook. So it's a very common motif to have the combination of weak back rank, yeah, the 3 pawns are on the second rank, pressure on the f pawn here, and the rook ready to join the action on e1. If instead here white could have played some other move and nothing much is happening, queen g3 for example, just cover the sensitive square on f2. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the video. This was about problems with about 1500 range. I actually set a range between 1500 and 1700, but it mostly gave me 1500. So next one I'm going to tune this up a bit to 1700 type of problems. I hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, thanks for watching. Till next time.